Angelina, to your left side.
Angelina didn't need to raise her voice. Just one calm, cutting line was enough to shut Blake Lively down in front of the world. While Angelina's legacy speaks for itself, Blake tried to fake her way onto Time's most influential list and got absolutely dragged for it.
Time magazine just announced the 100 most influential people of 2025. Wait, why is Blake Lively there?
Angelina Jolie said, "There's a difference between telling a story and stealing someone else's voice while smiling for the camera. No names, no theatrics, just one calm, nuclear-grade line, and Blake Lively's entire pastel-drenched PR rebrand flatlined on live TV. The silence in the room was deafening. Hollywood gasped like someone dropped a live mic in the Vatican. People didn't whisper, they ran to their phones. Fashion blogs torched her. Advocacy circles pulled back. Florence Pugh and Charlize Theron unfollowed her faster than you can say performative activism.
Lively slammed for disgusting and embarrassing inclusion on Time 100 most influential people list.
Meanwhile, Angelina didn't flinch. No selfie, no Notes app apology, no PR spin, because she didn't need any. She's Angelina Jolie. Her legacy speaks for itself. Her work has weight. Meanwhile, Blake? Just noise. Filtered, borrowed, recycled noise. Plagiarized purpose wrapped in pastel captions.
It's honestly comedy at this point. I don't even think I'm offended anymore by anything that this degenerate does.
And honestly, the worst part? The comparison. Because let's be real, Blake Lively shouldn't even be in the same sentence as Angelina Jolie. We're talking about a woman who's spent over 2 decades walking into actual war zones. 60. Field missions. UNHCR Special Envoy. Founder of legal aid programs for refugee children. This isn't charity, it's legacy.
Difficult as conditions are, the refugees here count themselves as the lucky ones.
She received the Jean Hersholt Humanitarian Award. And that's just the highlight reel. While Angelina's been on the front lines of global crises, Blake's been front row at Fashion Week. Angelina once said, "Hollywood is not always a healthy place." No kidding. Meanwhile, Blake's biggest humanitarian contribution? Magnolia Pearl Jeans, the brand that thought a plantation-themed clothing line was a good idea. And let's not forget the wedding. Yes, she married Ryan Reynolds at Boone Hall, an actual slave plantation.
Decided to get married at the Boone Plantation in South Carolina. That's where they got married. There's no slaves in that plantation right now, but it was all about history, the braids. Were there ever slaves here? Did bad stuff happen here? How dare you get married here?
Because nothing says forever like exchanging vows on a site where human beings were once whipped into forced labor. And when the backlash hit, Blake didn't own it. She posed for People magazine and tossed a donation at the NAACP. Somewhere, between $200K and $2 million depending on who you ask. Even the apology came with commitment issues.
The reason that they donated this money is because after multiple times, after year, they had been getting slammed and receiving so much backlash for their plantation wedding.
And speaking of commitment, let's talk about Blake's commitment to pretending she's a humanitarian. She launched a campaign called Homebound. On the surface, soft voiceovers, muted color palettes, a website that whispered, "I care," in a curated font. But look closer. The tagline? Rebuilding what's been broken one voice at a time. Sounds profound, except it was lifted verbatim from Angelina Jolie's 2019 UNHCR campaign. This wasn't inspiration. It was straight up plagiarism in a pastel wrapper.
What happened in 2019 was that Blake and Ryan were once again in desperate need of good PR. And I will say this time it wasn't their fault.
And speaking of commitment, let's talk about Blake's commitment to pretending she's a humanitarian. She launched a campaign called Homebound. On the surface, soft voiceovers, muted color palettes, a website that whispered, "I care," in a curated font. But look closer. The tagline? Rebuilding what's been broken one voice at a time. Sounds profound, except it was lifted verbatim from Angelina Jolie's 2019 UNHCR campaign. This wasn't inspiration. It was straight-up plagiarism in a pastel wrapper.
It's a myth that rape is an inevitable part of conflict.
In Blake's case, it looked less like advocacy and more like a Vogue spread themed around suffering. It was as if Angelina did all the homework, every grueling field mission, every policy reform push, and Blake just changed the font to pastel, pink, and tried to turn it in for extra credit. Honestly, it felt like someone walking into your house, repainting the walls, snapping a selfie, and calling it their own. Blake didn't just borrow inspiration, she hijacked a legacy. And the worst part? She expected applause for it. She thought no one would notice. She really believed that if she smiled sweetly enough, spoke in soft tones about healing, and filtered it through the perfect Instagram aesthetic, the world would eat it up. But it didn't. It gagged. Because this isn't 2012. We're not handing out gold stars for performative empathy anymore. And let's not pretend this is some isolated misstep. From her plantation wedding silence, to the odd obsession with curated Southern charm, to a string of half-hearted apologies, it's a pattern. Now she's trying to slap a philanthropic bow on top of it all and pray we don't see the cracks. But we do.
People were outraged. And I'm not kidding. I'm showing you this headline from NBC News. It says, Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively apologize for plantation wedding. Now, this is published in 2020.
While Blake's busy autographing posters of characters she never even played and pretending she just stumbled into activism, Angelina has been quietly building a legacy. 2 decades of real work, real impact, and real receipts. All with grace and substance that no amount of Blake's PR spin could ever fake. That single sentence from Angelina wasn't loud or flashy, but it was honest. And in a world drowning in Photoshop philanthropy, honesty hits like a brick. Now let's talk about that plantation wedding. Yes, the literal slave plantation where Blake Lively said, "I do." A sight soaked in centuries of human suffering, because apparently, nothing screams fairy tale romance quite like exchanging vows where slaves were once auctioned. Boone Hall, South Carolina, 2012. That's the venue she chose, voluntarily, deliberately, with Ryan Reynolds. You really couldn't make this stuff up.
He has a history of weird, kind of racist things.
And let's not forget the cherry on top, her now infamous quote, "I finally have a voice." Girl, what do you mean finally? You've had a megaphone since 2005. You've been the face of every shampoo brand, every movie poster, every red carpet. You've starred in entire Vogue spreads, had private Chanel fittings, and landed commercial contracts longer than most people's resumes. The only thing you finally found was the panic button, right after your reputation went up in flames. This isn't a breakthrough. It's a brand strategy, and a bad one at that.
Super expensive as well, horrible clothing. And it's another proof that Blake Lively, first of all, doesn't have any sense of fashion, and she would wear plantation fashion.
And isn't it just perfect how all this drama blew up right in the middle of her legal battle with Justin Baldoni? The timing is so suspicious. It's like her PR team was locked in a war room, brainstorming. How do we make Blake look relatable? Got it. Let's print out photos of her stunt double and send her out to fans she usually ghosted. Genius. This whole rebrand? One long, exhausting performance of empty pageantry, not real activism.
Ryan apparently gave a bunch of money to NAACP's Legal Defense and Educational Fund.
She actually believed it would work. That she could just slip into some plantation-inspired jeans, toss a donation to the NAACP, autograph some stunt double merch, and the world would move on. But we didn't forget. We're not that naive. This whole new Blake act? It's about as convincing as a Hallmark movie about genocide. Pretty colors, zero substance.
Lively is, and calling her a titan. A titan is defined by a person of very great strength, intellect, or importance.
While Angelina Jolie delivers a single line at a summit that shifts culture worldwide, Blake stumbles through staged fan moments and commits aesthetic crimes masquerading as charity. And Time magazine calling her a titan for this? That's not influence. It's an insult.
Really loved those patchwork like jeans that you have.
Magnolia Pearl.
Oh, yeah.
Those are my real life jeans.
If Bleach had a brand ambassador, it'd be Blake. Because she didn't just try to scrub her past, she attempted to erase the entire internet like no one would notice. From 2018 to 2022, her plantation wedding trended every year like clockwork, with people roasting her nonstop. Now? Silence. Try searching for receipts, and all you find are user not found or account protected pop-ups. Reddit threads once packed with screenshots and calls out have vanished, locked, or wiped. Clean. Classic reputation laundering 101.
And they clearly ignored it. In fact, Blake has a history of romanticizing the Deep South with her weird blueberry muffins that she did. Look, she has a history of weird kind of racist things.
Let's be honest. This isn't some random glitch or coincidence. This screams PR cleanup. And not just any fixer. Word is, someone like Jed Wallace and his internet cleanup squad was brought in. These pros don't erase your past. They just bury it beneath layers of algorithmic fluff. Suddenly, Blake's plantation wedding disappears without a trace, but her pastel-themed empowerment posts get pinned and glorified like gospel. It's full-on Bleach mode, hard reset, panic station.
Clear what it is. The slave house, all of it. It's all very clear.
The timing? Almost too perfect. The very same week Blake lands on Time's 100 Most Influential People list, her homebound campaign mysteriously goes into maintenance. Just like that, poof, it vanishes. All those carefully curated photos, the stolen slogan from Angelina, the video that looked more like a Sephora ad than charity, gone. All that's left is a broken link and a heavy scent of desperation. Because if you weren't guilty, would you really take down your entire campaign? Cite the moment people start asking questions.
Between Serena Williams and Simone Biles, and what they say about her is that she is a civil rights leader, which is so offensive.
Blake didn't erase her past because it was unfair. She erased it because it was painfully accurate. When your entire brand is a performance, even one genuine moment can bring the whole facade crashing down. Her timeline now is cleaner than her filtered face in a L'Oreal ad. This isn't reputation management. It's digital witness tampering. And it shouts one thing loud and clear: guilt.